So that went on for 2 years. So was November 15th, 2004. The Eagles are playing Dallas. In Dallas. It's the game where Terrell Owens scored a touchdown and then ran to the middle of the field and stood on the star and went like this. It's that game. So I'm getting ready to go over to my parents' house to watch the game with my dad. I actually called him to say, hey, I'll stop and grab a 30-pack. We'll be over, blah, blah, blah. So I hang up the phone. I run into the bathroom real quick. The phone rings again. My wife at the time answers the phone. I hear her scream. I hear the phone fall on the floor. And I'm like, what the fuck? So I come out and I'm like, what's the matter? She's like, the Marine Corps is at your parents' house. Your brother just got killed. And I'm like, what? I'm like, get the fuck out of here. So we hop in the car. We fly over across town. I pull up in front of my parents' house. And I'm looking around, because I know all the cars on the block. This is the street I grew up on. It's the street I live on now. I live right across the street from my parents' house. So I'm looking around. I don't see military tags, government tags on any cars. No cars don't look familiar. So my wife gets out of the car. She grabs our kids. She runs in the house. I get out of the car. I walk up. There's like a grass hill in front of my parents' house. And as I'm walking up the hill, I just see this guy in dress blues in the front of my parents' door.
Never a good sign, man.
And I'm like, well, that definitely doesn't look like my brother. And I'm like, holy shit, maybe this is true. So he comes outside and he's like, hey, sir, are you Christopher Ryan? I'm like, yes, sir, I am. He's like, okay. He's like, I'm Staff Sergeant so-and-so from the United States Marine Corps from the Casualty Assistance Team. I regret to inform you that your brother's been killed in action. So I'm just like, what? I'm like, nah, man, you got this. This is wrong. Like, this can't be true. And he's like, no, unfortunately, this is not, like, we're not fucking around. Like, this really happened. And I was just like, I was in shock for, I don't know, for how long. And then it started going around the city, what happened. And, people started coming over to my parents' house. And, what did we do? 30 packs started piling up on my dad's front doorstep. 30 packs of Coors Light. Just like you could build a fucking front porch with as many 30 packs as showed up out front.
Crazy, man. It's crazy.
I mean, it's the people don't know what to do in Gloucester, right?
Yeah.
And this is
they
what
bring
we
beer,
do.
right.
Yeah. So, it was, we had to go pick up his body, and then I had to bring it home, and there was a whole escort there. I mean, the city was great. Everybody was great. I mean, it was a beautiful, send off. I couldn't be happier or prouder of, what they did for him and what everybody did, just from the fucking pipe band to the police departments to the fire departments to just, everybody just, it was phenomenal. It really was. It was totally something to be that, I was so proud of.
And so deserving, bro.
Yeah. And I mean, if it was him, really, he would be like, dude, I don't want any of your shit. I don't want none. He just wasn't that dude. Like, he didn't want any of that stuff. So,
right.
It was, but, it's, again, I get sent back to counseling, and Immediately bow up, cross my arms, shake my head. Yes, yes, yes. No, no, no. Can I leave now? Do that for a while. But the whole time, just, going home and dealing with this in my own way. And now not only do I lose one of my best friends in the fire department that I work with, but I actually lose my real brother. So now I got a free pass to do whatever the fuck I want. And I did whatever I wanted. And I didn't care. Like, I was like, I have no consequences because of what happened to me. And like an asshole, I ran around and used that. Because it's like, well, what are you going to do to me? My brother just died.
Right, right.
Making an excuse, well, my brother just died. Well, my brother just died. And I mean, yeah, I just started spiraling down the drain. That was, Tommy dying was a domino, and then there was a domino, and then there was a domino. And before you knew it, there was a whole shit ton of dominoes on the floor. And I got a bunch of dominoes left, but they're starting to tick down, and I'm starting to use up all my get out of jail free cards real quick. Yeah, I just and then me, like, I have to, I was there when Tommy got killed. I saw what happened. It happened right in front of me. For my brother's thing, I wasn't there. I didn't see what happened. I almost didn't believe it.
Right.
And even the day of his funeral, I went in. Now, mind you, the funeral home he's laid out in is directly across the street from the house I'm living in.
Wow. Literally across the street.
Directly across the street. Like,
Holy
I walked
cow.
out my front door, across the street, and I was in the funeral home.
Wow.
And I went over the day of the funeral. I went over, my parents and all were still outside. And I went in, and I knew the funeral director. I lived the fuck across the street from him.
Yeah, yeah.
And I said, Pat, I want to see my brother's body. Now, they recommended to me when he came home, they said, look, we got to have a closed casket viewing. You do not want to have an open casket. And I'm like, all right, well, like, what is he fucking cut in half? Is he missing arms, legs? Like, what the fuck? Is he missing his head? And they're like, no, all his shit's intact. Everything's there. He's like, but there's some facial damage that all the makeup in the world can't fucking fix. And this was like 2 days before the viewing. And I was like, I went to the viewing, and it was at the high school, and thousands of people came. And I just remember standing in front of the casket, walking back and forth, just in front of the casket, the whole fucking viewing. I don't know how many steps I took, but I just kept walking back, and like, people would walk. The two Marine honor guards stood there, and then there was a casket in the middle, and then people would come up and pay their respects. And in front of that, I would just pace back and forth. I had no idea what to fucking do. And I had been drinking for a week straight. For 2 weeks, I drank every day.
Wow.
Like, I didn't have a hangover because I never woke up sober. And I just remember doing that. And at the viewing, I was like, I don't believe it's him. For some crazy fucking reason, I was like, you know what? This is one of them fucking Jason Bourne things. They faked his death, and he's in some secret CIA fucking program somewhere, because he had he had a family, but he didn't have a wife. He had a girlfriend,
right?
But he didn't have a wife. He didn't have kids. You know what I mean? It was his 5th tour. He had been to Afghanistan. Like, he was in Australia when 9/11 happened. So he was the closest Marine amphibious unit to the Middle East. So when we invaded, he was like the second helicopter to hit the ground.
Wow.
Besides the CIA and
Right.
the 12 Horsemen, that movie, that great movie with, those dudes who went and, you know, um, did a little damage before everybody got there. Um, so yeah, I mean, Camp Rhino was the first camp that they set up, and General Mattis was my brother's boss, the former Secretary of Defense.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm at the viewing, and I'm like, I don't believe it's him. So I said, Pat, to the funeral director, I want to see his body. I'm the family representative. You got to let me see his body. And he's like, bro, that's not a good idea. It's a bad fucking idea. I mean, he legit was like, that's a bad fucking idea. And I'm like, I don't care. I want to see his body. So they detail a Marine who actually served with my brother. So my brother got killed. This guy found out about it. My brother served with him in the 1st Marine Division in Afghanistan. He found out my brother got killed and asked to be on his body escort detail.
That's so awesome, man.
So he actually knew my brother. So the funeral guy's like, well, hold on, I got to go, get the representative from the Marine Corps. And he goes and gets him, and kid's name's Jimmy, and he comes to me and he goes, Chris, you don't need to do this, dude. He's like, I've seen the body. I have to see the body to confirm everything. All his medals are in place. I'm like, Jim, I gotta see. I gotta see that it's him. And he goes, Chris, I'm fucking telling you right now. He's like, it's him. 100%. No fucking questions asked. But no, that's not good enough. So they're like, all right, well, we'll let you view it and stuff like that. And, they opened up the bottom part of the casket so you could see his hands like crossed. You could see like from his waist down, you could see his legs and his feet. And his head, he got hit with a vehicle-borne IED, like a block away from Camp Hurricane or Hurricane Point. I actually talked to a guy who was on guard duty, like right down the street, and saw the whole thing happen.
Jesus.
So there was a Fox News camera like 2 Humvees back, and Oliver North was doing his Oliver North stories. So they actually taped this shit, but they didn't. When the car exploded, it blew the camera out, so it like froze the camera. So all it is the aftermath. And of course, I needed to know all this shit. I need to know every single detail. So I got the camera footage, and you could see like the Humvee all on fire, and you can actually see my brother like laying on the side of the Humvee outside because he was driving. You could see him laying there, and they're working on him and shit. So he got hit with a vehicle-borne IEDs, like about 500 pounds of explosives.
Jesus Christ.
And what happened is the overpressure, the officer had rolled the window down, which I found out that you don't do. And the overpressure came in that window and basically smashed my brother's face, the left side of his face, into the bulletproof glass and just like caved the whole side of his face in. So in his casket, he had like a red, they put this like red sash around your head. I mean, they make it look respectful.
Right.
When you have some facial damage like that. His shit was all caved in. But you could still see like the blonde in his hair right here. Like you could still see that. So, it's but I had, I had to know. I had to know. Whether that, was the right thing to do or not. I mean, toothpaste is out of the tube.
Yeah.
You ain't putting it back. Right. So, we do the funeral, and, we did the viewing, the funeral, and again, the funeral was, was beautiful. And He's buried right up in Camden, where my grandparents are buried. I wound up working at the hospital right across the street from where he's buried, so I used to see him all the time. Um, but yeah, that's in 2 years. Well, 2002 and then 2004. I wound up losing Tommy, and then wound up losing my own brother. But again, he's not delivering mail. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
he's going to war. There's a chance that this could happen. He rolled the dice 5 times.
Yeah.
5 times.
I mean, 5 tours. That's man.
And he went to some crazy ass places, like the 2 places he toured Bor in Afghanistan, and then he winds up in Ramadi, Iraq, which in 2004. I mean, you listen to Jocko Willink and all those guys, and he was there in 2006, and he said it was the Wild West. Like that was home field for the insurgents.
Man.
And these dudes are rolling around there every day. So, you spend 2.5 tours rolling around there, getting into firefight after firefight. You're rolling the dice. But you know what? He knew what he was doing. Full well knew what he was doing.
Terrible, bro. I'm sorry you had to go through that, twice. Especially with your brother. I mean, that's just, there's no replacing your brother. It's just, tough, really tough.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you, though. He didn't have to go back for that like half a tour, but a lot. When he was with the 2nd Battalion, 5th Marines when he got killed. He was with the 2nd Battalion, 4th Marines, who the 5th Marines took over for. They took like 38 casualties, 38 KIAs.
Jeez.
And he basically was like, "Yo, man, they're bringing these fucking kids over here that, just like coming into the job.
Yeah.
They got no fucking clue what's going on. And you're going to fuck around and find out real quick over here." And he was like, "You know what? I'll go back as a casualty replacement." And that's what he did. He crossed deck to 2-5 as a casualty replacement. And he was trying to help the younger dudes in the company, like, "Hey, this is a good street. This is a bad street. This is a street that you don't even look at or think about, or it breaks out in gunfire."
Sounds a lot like what his brother's doing now with young kids in the fire service.
Yeah, I guess you could say, yeah. Yeah. I mean, if we go to a couple more fires, that'd be good, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But, nobody's going to the fires we used to go to. It's not the way it is anymore. But, so yeah, I mean, it's, again, more dominoes start falling.
Yeah.
And, I'm going through the years, and, my way of dealing and coping with loss and everything is progressively picking up, because 6 isn't not enough, 12's not enough, 18's not enough. You build up immunity to certain amounts, and you need more and more and more. And but the thing is I was functioning pretty good, man. I was on the state police USAR team. I was teaching. You know what I mean? Like, I was working a couple different jobs, still working in the hospital part time. This and that, working my ass off. I had young kids, but I was never home. I was never home. I was always, teaching or working. Some job. And then when I was home, I wasn't home. You know what I mean? I wasn't home.
Right.
It was, I'm gonna, I got to deal with all this shit in my head in the way I deal with it when I'm home. So, Daddy's here, but he's kind of not here. PTSD, whatever the fuck, whatever you want to call it. The post-traumatic stress disorder, disease, whatever. Not that I'm like mocking that or anything. I know it's a serious thing, and Lord knows I got that shit, but I don't want to use it now. When I look at it, I'm not using that as an excuse. It's not a crutch for me. This is my opinion. This isn't what I feel like everybody should be like. My wife tells me all the time, you have to stop thinking that everybody feels and should act like and should do what you do, especially at work.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no.
You think everybody should be at work at 5:30 in the morning and you start at 7. I'm at work at 5:30 in the morning and we start at 7.
That's pretty hardcore, man. I'm not.
But the funny thing, I started looking at it really, and I was like, yeah, that is kind of weird, I'm, I got a couple screws loose, whatever. But and then I'm always listening to podcasts, man. I'm always listening to shit, and whenever I listen to people that are like-minded, that have the same, like Chief word. Thompson.
Love that word, man.
Cody Tressler. He was in the FDNY and then he transferred out to like Seattle or some shit like that. I just listened. He was just on the Weekly Scrap. Dude spitting fire and truth. And whenever you listen to dudes like that, you listen to them and you hear about what time they come to work. They come to work an hour and a half before they're supposed to be in work. So then I started seeing, and then like there's like some Dennis Gordon from Squad 41 in New York City, legends. You hear these dudes, and they're all coming to work an hour before work, and I'm like, whoa, these dudes are like me, like they're like-minded like me, and they get to work an hour before work. I'm not crazy. I mean, I am crazy, but I'm not that crazy because there's other dudes out there that do the same thing.
Like-minded
people.
Mm-hmm.
I have a saying, another proverb: show me your friends and I'll show you your future. Show me your friends and I'll show you. You hang out with shitbirds in this business, you're going to be a shitbird. You will be a product of your environment.
Let me tell you something, bro. Those individuals, they love company.
No, they do.
Oh, they love company, man.
I've been around some toxic pity wagon, dude. Onto my pity wagon. I'm going to complain about 2 things firemen hate: change and the way things are.
Mm-hmm. Listen, I've had my share of toxic people, bro, and there's nothing better than like when you finally see the light and shed them, like how much better your life is after.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like that everywhere. No matter, the bigger the department is, the more room for those people to hide. Mm-hmm. The smaller the department is, the more they're like right out front. But like my wife says, she's like, babe, you gotta. Not everybody's like you, and I'm like, but there are people like me, and positivity and wanting to do this job and wanting to be good at this job, I've found is infectious. It is infectious just as much as the negative pity party, this place is bullshit guy. Just as much as they're infectious, so is let's be good at this fucking job. They're just as infectious.
Right.
And then depending on what environment or who you want to hang around with, again, show me your friends, I'll show you your future. You want to hang around with these dudes? Guess what? You're going to be total shitbird. You want to hang around with these dudes? You're going to learn some shit. You know what I mean? You're just going to...
And you're going to have fun.
You're just going to want to just absorb everything about the job.
Yeah. Like, come to work early and you can't wait to be there.
Yeah, you come to work early.
Yep.
And guys will be like, oh, well, I don't get paid, but I don't get paid. They'll hear, blah, blah, blah. And you're the same fucking dudes that are stumbling in the door at 2 minutes of and don't have your shit on the truck, and then we catch a run and you left your helmet on the rack. Or you can't find your gloves. Or you're just a mess. You know what I mean?
This brings you to something I heard once, and it's like, are you ready? Like, yeah, no. Are you ready? Are you ready? And that's exactly what you're talking about, bro. Like, are you ready for work? Do you have everything you need? Are you mentally, physically prepared? Are you ready? And it's like, it's what you're hitting on is like awesome, man, because it's like you're hitting it perfect.
Yeah, and it's like I said, negative people shitbirds, but the positive people, I say again, proverb: don't let my confidence and abilities insult your insecurities and inabilities. Just bottom line, I apologize. Because you're going to make up all these excuses about this, and this, instead of fucking doing something about it.
Right.
And that was, I still see that to this day. That's where I was when shit started going downhill for me in my life. I started blaming everybody else. I started blaming my fucking brother getting killed, Tommy getting killed. Well, look, woe is me. Fucking pity party. Woe is me. And then here we go. How about you just, you really want to have a good time? How about in 2012, you just completely shit the bed and lose everything in your life? Your career, your family, you're fucking homeless, you're living in your car, you're eating out of fucking trash cans. How about that? Let's see if you can deal with that shit. Who are you going to blame that on? And that's what happened to me. Wow. That's what fucking happened to me. I lost fucking everything.
Jesus
because
Christ.
That fucking dealing with my problems the way that I did obviously was the wrong fucking way. I can laugh about it now. I wasn't laughing back then.
Yeah.
And I had to resign from the department. Bad breakup. I went through a bad divorce in 2010. Then I lose everything in 2012. Everybody kind of just cut me off. Now, dudes tried to help me. Dudes in the department tried to help me. One of the guys now, he's a battalion chief. I remember when he got on the job. I was already on the job. He came in as my probie. Now he's fucking battalion chief. He's my boss. I remember him coming to my apartment one day, like 9 o'clock in the morning. And I'm hungover from the night before, and I'm like, I thought something was wrong with him. I was like, yeah, dude, come on in, bro. And he sits down and he's like, yo, I need to talk to you. And I'm like, yeah, what's up, man? I go over to the refrigerator, grab a beer. I'm like, you want a beer? He's like, it's fucking 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, and I don't have to be at work. And he's like, that's what I wanted to talk to you about. He's like, dude, you got the potential to be a boss in this place. You got the potential to be one of the best firemen in this department's history. What the fuck are you doing? He's like, you were my role model when I got on the job. He's like, he's like, yeah, I remember him saying it to me because I remember when he came in, he didn't know who Patty Brown was. So I made him fucking look up Patty Brown, made him know about Patty Brown. And, to this day, we always talk about Patty Brown. And he's like, dude, you got a chance to be like the Patty Brown. And he's like, you're fucking it up, man. You're fucking this up. He's like, you got a huge bullseye on your back. And you're all out of sympathy fucking get out of jail free cards. You're all out.
Damn.
And what did I do? I fucked around and found out. I found out the hard way by having to write a letter of resignation and resigning from the department.
Man.
And then
That is rough, bro.
then I had nothing. You know, when you lose that income, you know, at that point I'm single, I'm living in an apartment. You know, not really the greatest father in the world by any stretch of the imagination. As my wife says to me now, because she's sitting over across the room here, she said, "Total womanizer." That's what my wife says to me. Yeah, just a fucking total piece of shit, man. I mean, honestly, just a total piece of shit. I mean, that's what I was. Total piece of shit. I had built a good reputation on the job. You know, you can have a chest full of medals and ribbons, but to have someone say your name and then follow that with "he's a good fireman," that's worth the whole chest full of medals.
I tell kids all the time, when these young kids that are trying to get on a job or volunteer career, doesn't matter. I always say the same thing, and that is, it takes forever to build a beautiful reputation for yourself, and it takes a moment to destroy it.
Yep. I lost that shit right then and there. My reputation, 12 and a half years, gone.
Yep.
Gone. And I had nothing, you know, lost my apartment. Luckily, I had owned my car at the time. And I was like, fuck it. I'll just drive down to Atlantic City. You know, dwindling a bank account. You know, go pay to get in the parking garage, and I'll just, you know, sleep in my car in the parking garage. And then I started running out of money. And I was like, well, let's try panhandling. You know, like those fucking dudes you see on the Lansing Boardwalk. Can I get some change? I mean, it works for them because I needed to get a drink and I had no money. And then I had to pay to get out of the parking garage. And then when you really don't have any money and you're starving, you know, a styrofoam thing of half-eaten pancakes in a garbage can, that shit looks pretty good. You're going to do what you got to do.
Man. Talk about a humbling experience, bro. Man.
Yeah, but, you know, I mean, so working at the hospital as my part-time job, some people there, some bosses there got a hold of me finally. And they're like, hey, man, you still have insurance till here. Give us your insurance card. Come back home, give us your insurance card. We're going to square everything away, and we're going to get you some help. And I come home. My parents, you know, I got like a month left on my, well, no, I didn't even have that. But I wound up coming back towards, you know, back to Gloucester and go away to summer camp for 28 days, just like the movie.
Right.
Talk about a weird experience. I'm not one of these people here. I take these people to the hospital. I take care of these people in the hospital. And then God said, guess what, motherfucker? You're one of those people.
Yeah, that word humble comes back again.
And I'm like, shit.
Yeah, man.
You're right. You know, the first step is you got to accept. And then after that, it gets a little bit easier. But not much easier. Go through that whole thing, come back, go to my first meeting, scared to death. I would have rather than light the fucking building on fire and say you got to go in there in your underwear. I would have been much more comfortable doing that. Go through that whole, go into that the rooms as they call it, and I still go to those rooms. Met a lot of great people. I've sat next to people in those rooms where the next day I've done CPR on them because they overdosed.
Wow.
Yeah. Fucking crazy. I remember sitting right next to this dude the next night. I'm like, holy shit. I sat next to this dude the night before. I don't know if that's a HIPAA violation, and I didn't say his name.
No, you didn't say his name. You're good.
Yeah, so
you're good.
Yeah. Let's just say this. Allegedly. Yeah, and I luckily the hospital was there, and they took care of me, and
thank God, man.
I got a full-time job and benefits, and I was able to pay I racked up a $22,000 RIP child support. The judge was like, hey man, you can either start paying on this shit or I'll put you in jail right now. So I almost got hooked up right then and there.
Yeah, man.
So now I'm in my mid-30s. I lost the best job in the world. I threw it away, took it for granted, and I'm working. Where I'm working, it's good field. It was okay money. It was getting me by. It was paying my bills, paying my child support. But there's no room for advancement in being. I was an ER tech. There's no room for advancement. There's not like head ER tech or advanced ER tech or captain ER tech. There's none of that shit. You
Right.
just get raises as you go. But I watched dudes from when I was 19 till I was in my 40s. They're still fucking working there.
But the reality is, you missed a job, bro. I mean, it's got to be.
Oh, it was killing me because I was like, "What?"
You.
I'm like, I could still do this job. I can still do this job. And the funny thing is like I was never a religious person. Um, even at my brother's funeral, you know what I mean? I wasn't like, I wasn't doing any of that stuff. And yeah, I didn't have faith in that shit. I was like, this, hocus pocus, black magic.
Right.
Funny thing is, they say you find God when you go to jail and you go to rehab. And I didn't go to jail.
Thank God.
Almost. So I found my higher power, as we call it. And I was like, well, it got me back to this point. So why don't we keep trying this? Like they told me when I went into the room, they said, hey man, for 35 years, you've been driving the bus. Guess where it fucking wound you up? In a meeting. Congratulations. They're like, why don't you take a suggestion? Maybe let somebody else drive the bus for a little bit.
I love that.
As a figure of speech, let someone else drive the bus.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I mean, I got nothing to lose at this point. Might as well. I've been trying it my way for 35 years, and I'm fucking sitting here now with no career. So I started buying into that. I shouldn't even say I bought into it. I bought into the faith, and I bought into the spiritual part of it and everything. And I was just like, I just want a second chance. If you just give me a second chance, I promise I won't throw it away. I won't take it for granted. I won't do any of that. And I wound up transferring hospitals over to Our Lady of Lourdes in Camden, which is a Catholic hospital. And they have a beautiful, beautiful chapel. I'm not talking like a chapel where you walk in and it's like one room with like 2 pews. I'm talking like cathedral chapel.
Oh, wow.
Amazing. And I worked 7P to 7A, 3 days a week. Met some great people, great doctors, you know. And every day at 5:30 in the morning, I would go up to the chapel and I would pray to God for a second chance. I mean, pray to God for a second. I'd pray, every day, like clockwork, whether I was at work or not. Because I was like, I didn't get, I got this far.
Yeah.
Believing in this. What's it going to hurt to keep on going? And I'm not here to debate religion or is it real? Is it not? For me, again, this is all Chris Ryan, my belief.
Right.
You don't have to believe it. You don't have to like it. That's a beautiful thing about America, right? That's why they make vanilla chocolate and strawberry. My wife's Catholic. I'm Methodist. When we go to church, I go to a Catholic church. Doesn't matter to me. My faith and my belief, still the same thing. So I started taking tests. I retook the fire test, and I was 35 years old in the state of New Jersey. The cutoff is 35.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you're right there, man. That's it.
But because I was a exempt firefighter status, when you get your exempt firefighter status in the state of New Jersey, it takes your age back down.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it made me eligible to take the test.
Oh, that's awesome.
You have up until you're 40 years old to get hired when you're an exempt fireman.
Wow.
Yeah. Not a lot of people know about that rule.
Yeah.
So I retake the fire test. I take Philadelphia's fire test. I take Philadelphia's police test. I take Camden Metro's police test. I take the Camden County Department of Corrections test. Any test Wilmington Fire Department, I took their test. I ran that thing all the way up until the chief's interview. And the only reason why I didn't make the chief's interview is because they told me it's on a Tuesday on a phone call message, and the letter they sent me was on a Monday.
Oh.
And I never opened the letter until that Monday.
Oh, man.
So I missed it. But
everything happens for a reason.
Everything happens for a reason. Firm believer.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
So I take all these tests, and like I said, every day I'm like, please God, give me a second chance. And I promise you, I won't let you down. I won't disappoint you. I won't squander it. I won't throw it away. I won't take it for granted. I mean, just begging and pleading every day for 5 years.
Wow.
I did this for 5 fucking years, scratching and clawing every day. In those 5 years, I found, obviously I found God. I got really heavy into CrossFit. Became an instructor and all this shit, competitions. Again, things happen for a reason, mysterious things. I'm in my late 30s now, and I'm in the best shape in my entire life. Which played a good part for me down the road. Things happen for a reason. I got heavily involved in CrossFit, and it paid off for me down the road. So I get a thing from the Camden County Department of Corrections for correctional police officer, and they're like, we're going to hire you. and I put down one of the people I put down as a reference. I'm not going to say his name or who he is. We'll just say that he carries a lot of weight in the city. He's a childhood friend of mine. He's been my friend for a long time. He's the boss man. And he really looked out for me, and he really helped me get a shot at the police academy. And here I am, 30, 38, 39 years old in the police academy with 20-year-olds.
Yeah, man, that's pretty high. That's probably a high number. You up there?
Yeah, and I'm in the top 10 percentile.
Yeah,
for PT with these kids. I got 21-year-olds. Just, the kid. We had to run the PTC thing. Is you got to run a mile and a half.
Yeah,
I think the one kid in my class, he's like 18, or he was 20 years old. He ran it in like 8:43. I was like, are you kidding me right now?
8:43.
Yeah, it was incredible. Some astronomical number like that. I know it was under 9 minutes. But I'm hanging with these dudes, and I'm in the academy, and I'm back at the fire academy, but I'm in the police academy.
Okay.
Which is weird.
So weird.
Because I'm seeing people that I used to teach with that are now like looking at me in the hallway, and I got my head shaved, and I'm standing in attention saying, "Good morning, sir," or "Make way," or you know what I mean? Like I'm jumping against the wall, and they're like walking by me going, "Chris, what the fuck are you doing? Like, why are you standing there? Why is your head shaved?"
Not having any clue what you've been through. Yeah.
That's
nuts.
When all that shit down, they say there's no atheist in foxholes. I would have to agree with that. The fire department, my friends, I wouldn't say they abandoned me. I would say that for a lot of them, they didn't know what to say to me. They didn't, I would see them, out on the street, and they would just be like, "Hey man, what's up?" Like they just didn't know what to say to me.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't go places. There's a Wawa in Gloucester. I didn't go to that fucking Wawa for 5 years. I would not pull into the parking lot because I was so ashamed of what happened to me. I would have to go to my kids' stuff at their school, at the high school and stuff, and I was so ashamed to go to fuck in there because of what happened to me. And it just felt like everybody was looking at me like, "Oh, that dude." And again, it's just what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. But like I said, the CrossFit thing, man, that gave me the ability to push through the academy. And don't get me wrong, going to the academy gave me a new appreciation for what we do in the fire services in the academy. I think in the fire service, our academy, we have good people, we have good instructors, we have a good foundation. But as far as the physical aspect of it, we are so behind the police department. Yeah. We should be doing PT. We should be doing push-ups. Not at a ridiculous amount.
You know who is though, man? South Carolina, Somerville.
Yeah.
Man, you got unbelievable.
We should be doing that. This is a physical fucking job. Yep. But the funny part of it is when you go to take the test to be a cop, you take a written test. Mm-hmm. When you go to take the test to be a fireman, you take a written test and a physical.
Yeah.
But then when you go to the academies, it's the complete opposite.
Yeah.
Now, I know there's some academies out there around here that have a little bit of PT to them. They'll do a little bit of running, they'll do some push-ups and shit like that. And I be honest with you, I'll do push-ups all day long. What I hate is front lean arrest. When you're in the push-up, the top of a push-up position, and they just make you sit there, that is fucking hard. I'd rather do 50 push-ups because the lactic acid builds up in your tricep and you can't move. And then you start shaking and shit. And if you're in a bad parking lot, all the stones and the glass go into your hands. And instructors just stand there and they walk back and forth and they just keep on talking. And you start shaking and they're like, don't fucking move.
Bro, if you haven't seen the episode that I put out in Somerville, South Carolina, man, you should watch the first. I think it's like the first. I want to say the first 5 or 6 minutes of that episode, man. It's all filmed out on the academy grounds, and bro, those recruits are getting it in, man. I'm telling you, you're flipping tires. They're moving poles around, utility poles from side to side, man. I mean, it was unbelievable, man.
Yeah, I mean, and I mean, not only the physical aspect of it, but you know how many dudes, like firemen and maybe some guys that I work with, 1 or 2, don't know how to stand at attention, don't know how to salute properly. Like, I think we are. Yeah. We're still a paramilitary organization, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And we use the chain of command. We use uniform to identify people and ranks. And we're supposed to be able to stand at attention. We're supposed to be able to salute properly. Walk in formation, like just walk in a straight fucking line.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right face, left face, about face, like easy shit.
Yeah, we're not talking honor guard stuff. We're just
we're not talking the fucking. We're not talking the army, the old guard that guards the tomb of the unknown soldier. Those badasses that just like they are on fucking point every second.
Right.
We're not talking that, but just the basic shit. And you're standing there with your cover on and you got sunglasses on.
Yeah, so you don't look like a soup sandwich.
Right. And then you're saluting and your legs are still spread apart. I told my wife, I said, babe, if I ever get killed in the line of duty, this shit better not show up at my funeral. Because it's just like, come on, man. But this is the thing. In the police academy, they teach you how to do that shit.
Yeah.
And if you don't do it right, you're going to pay the fucking man. In the fire academy, we kind of get away from that, because we have, granted, we have so much other shit we have to cram in, but still, the other day I was walking around the academy and the students were standing in front of their gear. They got their hands in their pockets.
Yeah.
I walked in and lost my fucking mind. I'm like, why are your hands in your pockets? We don't stand around on the fire ground with our hands in our pockets. Why are you standing here with your hands in your pockets? Do you need something to do? I'll give you something to do. But again, it's that discipline. It's that attention to detail. The devil is in the detail 110% in this job. If you're a fucking shit sandwich at work in the firehouse, when you go out to the fire ground, that shit translates.
Oh,
that
absolutely.
Just dovetails right over.
Yep.
And I've had this argument with guys. No, it doesn't. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you're a fucking mess here. What do you think's going to happen when we go out the door?
Yep.
And, some guys are like, oh, well, maybe. And then some guys are like, nah. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, we'll see. See what happens. But yeah, I mean, and going through that. And while I was in the academy for my range week, I get a phone call from the fire department, and it still shows up on my cell phone, Firehouse. Now, mind you, I haven't saw that word on my phone in 5 years.
Jesus Christ.
And I see it on my phone. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? So I answer the phone, and it's the chief secretary, who I'm friends with, and I've been friends with. She just recently retired. She's like, hey, Chris, it's Alicia, Chiefs, I said, hello. And she's like, would you be interested in coming in for an interview?
Holy shit, man. What were you thinking at this moment?
And I was like, you know what I said? Well, when's the interview? Because I'm in the police academy. She's like, well, it's going to be Wednesday night. This was like Monday. She's like, it's Wednesday night, like, I don't know, 7:20 or some shit like that.
Wow, at night? That's awesome.
I'm like, yeah, I could probably fit that in. I said, yeah, I'll be there. So I go in for this interview, and it goes well. Let's just say that it goes well. When I walked out of there, I felt as confident as I've ever felt in a job interview. So then I go out, and I'm in my range week, so the next day I got to be at the fucking range, and now this is like weighing on me. Now I start calling people. I start calling guys I used to work with at the firehouse, because now it's getting out that I might be coming back. And a lot of the guys said, do what is in your heart. Do what do I stay on this path, the law enforcement path? I mean, granted, I'm going to the jail, but the next step was going to, police.
Right.
And I like I said, I talked to a lot of guys, and some guys were like, no, you don't want to go back there. But then there was guys there that I talked to, one of which is my battalion chief now, a very good friend of mine. I talked to him a lot, and he was like, hey man, you come back. He was a captain then. He's like, you come back, I'll get you on my shift. He's like, you were the senior guy when I came in the door. I'll get you taken care of. We'll get you squared away. We'll get you back in that fucking form. And I still was on the fence.
Yeah, because I mean, were you? Was part of you thinking like, man, I'm in a good place right now? I mean, I stayed a course, or I mean, it must have been hard. What a difficult decision, man.
Yeah, because I was like, you know what? I'm going to stay this course. I'm going to stay this course. It's a new thing. It's the clean. The big thing for me was the clean slate.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Like, there's no history there.
Right. Now people want to go digging around and shit like that. What they're going to do, what they're going to do, whatever. But for me, it's a clean. For me personally, it is a clean slate. And then I talked to Tommy Stewart's mom. And she's like, are you kidding me? You want to go work up at that shit show? She's like, no, you're not a cop. You're not a fucking cop. She's like, if Tommy was alive to this day, he would laugh at you while smoking a cigarette and tell you, knock it the fuck off, go back to doing what you're good at, go back to doing what you love. Go be a fireman.
Wow.
And after that conversation with Mary Ann, Tommy's mom, I was like, I know what I'm doing. So, fast forward, I'm actually coming up on my anniversary at the firehouse, my second anniversary. My first anniversary in May 8th, now my second anniversary, which is February 26th, because when I came back, this was the other thing. When I came back, they told me all that time, 12 and a half, 13 years, that shit don't exist.
Wow.
You start at the bottom. I went back and had to wear a probie furnace for a year.
Oh my gosh.
I went back, and the dudes that were under me, that came in under me, were now all bosses. So you want to talk about a kick in the nuts.
Humble.
You want to talk about having to be humble.
Mm-hmm.
But I was, this is what they told me in my interview. If you come back, this is what you get. You don't get shit. You start over again. We're letting you come back. And I was like, after talking to Mary Ann, I was like, all right. I mean, After everything I had just been through for the past 5 years, I'm like, what are they going to do to me that I haven't already done to myself?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, what's worse than eating old pancakes out of a styrofoam garbage, bin in the garbage can, bro? I mean, listen,
yeah,
this is
yeah. What are you going? What are you
yeah,
going to call me?
right,
What are you going to say? You were an alcoholic. Blah blah blah. You're not going to say or do anything to me that I haven't already said or done to myself.
right.
So, go pound sand. Um, so yeah, I got that opportunity that I had been praying for and scratching and clawing for and
So the
grinding for every fucking day for 5 years.
so God answered your prayers.
God gave me what I wanted, not what I needed. Or no, vice versa. What I needed, not what I wanted.
Right.
Because
I knew what you meant.
what I want, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wanted to come back with my seniority and all this shit, my pay scale and all that. I wanted that. But no, he's like, all right, you want to go down this road? No problem. I'll be behind you, but you're going to start the fuck over again. And I was like, okay. And I mean, when I went back, um, it was mixed reception. There was dudes there that did not want me back there. That did not want me back there, and they made it perfectly clear that they did not want me there. And these were the junior guys when I came into the department. They were junior to me. And it's like, oh shit, now he's back. Now I got to compete with this dude. So let's see what we can do to run his shit into the ground and
Mm-hmm.
make him feel unwelcome and not want to be here.
Oh yeah, people
But
can
it's
do that, bro. They're good at that.
but then there was dudes that and my whole thing was when I came back, I was like, I have to make amends to all these dudes that I worked because there was dudes there that I didn't even know, like never worked with me, and the only thing they're going off of is what they hear everybody else say.
Mm-hmm.
So like the late great Bobby Halton says, which I think is a great proverb, is pick your own assholes in the fire service. um, and there was a lot of dudes that, like I said, they're now bosses, and I had to make amends. And I went to those dudes and I was like, hey man, I'm just looking for a fresh start. I apologize if I was an asshole, if I was this, if I was that. And on top of the whole thing, when I left there and what everything that happened to me, I did to myself. I didn't go in a meeting and say, well, hell, let me open a notebook here because I got tabs on like 10 dudes in this place.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't do that. I didn't bring in a roll full of dimes and just start dropping them on the floor. No, I did what I did. I did it to myself and I left just me. I didn't take anybody else with me. So, but I had to apologize to a lot of guys, and I did. And majority of them were like, "Yo, dude, we're behind you, bro. Like, it's awesome that you're back, and you were a good fireman before you left, and you got some work to do, but we're absolutely, that's awesome. Like we accept your apology." There was a lot of dudes that were like that.
Yeah.
I mean, there was some, a small percentage that didn't want to hear it. Their egos didn't allow them to accept that,
Yeah, absolutely.
which I understood and I knew and I expected. And I was like, look, it's not going to happen. Everybody's not going to love it. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
And I was just like, all right, no problem. I'll work my ass off to get back to that. You're a good fireman. And I mean, it was still rocky. There's a couple dudes that they did not want me there. And I was like, you know what, man? At one point, I was just like, you know what? I worked my fucking ass off to get back to this point. I don't care what you do or what you say about me. I'm not going to stop.
Bro,
I'm not going to stop.
Let me ask you a question. What's different about Chris the first time versus Chris now at the firehouse?
The difference. I mean, don't get me wrong. I can still be an asshole. Um, I'm very. I have OCD. I like things done a certain way. I have high expectations of myself. I have high expectations of the people that I work with. I hold myself accountable, and I expect the people that I'm with to do the same thing. But again, like my wife says, not everybody thinks like you. Not everybody, is capable of doing that.
Right, right.
Uh, Before, I was I didn't care. I didn't care. You know what I mean? I would just, senior man, no senior man. I would just go in the day room and just go to sleep because I was hungover. Um, I, I didn't have the ability to listen to the other person's side of whatever we were talking about. It was like it was my opinion, and then I couldn't listen to your opinion. You were just wrong. Um, but now I see, like, not everybody's going to think like you. There's a million different ways to do these things in this job. Um, Everybody learns differently at a different pace and all this stuff, and it's just. Uh, I've learned to be more patient than I was, previously. When
Right.
I mean, I think so. And I try to, where before I didn't give a fuck what somebody said about me. I just didn't care. Whereas now, not that I care what you call me an alcoholic, whatever you want to do, but I look at what they say and I say, is there any validity to what they're saying? Because if enough people say the same thing, well, then I got to look in the mirror and go, I might have to change something because more than one person is saying this. I
Right.
might have to change something within me.
And one of the hardest things we ever have to do is look at ourselves, man.
Right.
Yeah.
And you got to look, and now I look myself in the mirror and say, I might have to change something. And am I willing? What are you willing to do when no one's looking? That's a big thing in this job. What are you
Mhm.
willing to do when no one's looking? What are you willing to do in the gym? What are you willing to do on the mat? What are you willing to do in training? Whatever in the books. What are you willing to do when no one is looking? Are you willing to change? About two things firemen hate: change and the way
Changing the
things
way
are.
things are. Absolutely. I say it all the time, man.
But again, I'm not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. I want to be the best that I can be at this job because I owe it not just to myself. I owe it to my wife. I owe it to my brother. I owe it to Tommy. I owe it to my kids because I got a second chance that a lot of people don't get. A lot of people. I still go to meetings now and I see the same people when I walked in the door 11 years ago, the same people asking for the same second chance.
Wow.
And I tell people, I'm like, listen, experience, strength, and hope. That's what we're here to share. You can't expect just because you walk in here and you sit down that there's a magic fucking wand
Because there is no magic wand, man. That's the
that's
reality.
going to change.
Yeah. Right.
You
Right.
gotta go out and fucking grind
Yep.
every day. You gotta grind. You gotta want to go out and you gotta go after those things. You gotta, you can't just expect somebody going to come knock on your door and be like, hey man, you've been doing the right thing for X amount of years now, so here's a second chance. That shit don't happen that way. At least it doesn't happen that way to me. It might happen to people. I'm sure it does, but that don't happen for me. I had to go out and fucking go after what I wanted and push and push and push and push. But like I said, I owe it to I owe that second chance to my brother, to Tommy, because they don't have that shit, right? They lost two lives, the one they were living and the one they would have lived. So, you know, yeah, I gotta keep pushing to be in my, and this is just me, it's self motivation to be everything that I can be in this job. Everything that I do is geared towards that. Um, because that's, that's what the public expects.
Bro, what do you say to someone who might be watching this that is maybe going through what you went through and they're not on the other side of it yet? What do you say to them?
Uh, what I say to them? I say it's okay. It's it's okay, and don't think that you're the only one going through this. Don't think that this hasn't happened to somebody else. Don't think that this has never happened to somebody before. I don't know what to do, because people are going through it every day. And again, number one, acceptance is the first step. So, I mean, I've talked to people who are like, well, I'm not this. And I'm like listening to their story and what they're telling me. And I'm like, from one to another, yes, you are. And they're total denial. So I think it's an ego thing. It's a fear thing. Like, I'm going to lose my masculinity, or I'm going to lose that whatever cape they supposedly give you as a fireman. I'm going to lose that if I admit that I have an issue or I have a problem. And that's not the case at all, especially nowadays. Nowadays there's so much more help, and there's a lot. I would say this: there's more acceptance now than there was. I mean, not. I mean, it makes me sound old, but back in the early 2000s, in the early 90s, it wasn't accepted. In the 80s, it wasn't accepted.
Right.
It's more accepted now.
And there's a lot more resources now too.
Oh, there's a ton more resources.
Yeah.
And if you're that person, if you're that person that's struggling, or you think you got a problem, first off, if you think for just a split second, I might have a problem here, guess what?
You do.
You got a problem. And the like I said, the amount of resources that are out there, the amount of people that you can talk to, and I don't know. I'll be the first person to tell you that back when I was, in my younger years, we would say, and I've said it myself, alcoholics are quitters, and the difference between me and an alcoholic is they carry a card and go to meetings, and I don't.
Mm-hmm. I've heard those things from other people too, bro. It's
And now look at me, and God said, you know what?
Yeah,
take that. And yeah, here I am. Here I am, back in the job that I love. I and Danny from Danny Dorenzo from Safety and Survival, he wound up hiring me back. I never thought that I would get back to that. Never. And the boys from the company just welcomed me back in. You want to talk about like-minded people, and I argue this point. Well, not everybody can think. My wife says to me all the time, "Not everybody's like you. Not everybody thinks like you." And I'm like, "That's total horseshit." Because I work for a company where 99% of the guys think and do the same things I do, and they work all over the state.
Yeah.
New Jersey, Pennsylvania, New York, and we're all like-minded when it comes to the job.
Well, I recently went to like New Hampshire, Vermont, and it's like crazy how I'm running to the New England Fools, had an opportunity to meet those guys and watch one of their trainings and talk to these brothers. And it's like, it don't matter where you're at, bro. You're surrounded by like-minded individuals. When you have that, I mean, you gotta cherish it. It's just such an amazing thing, bro.
Yeah, and I mean that's one of the longer you get in the business, they say like don't judge a book by its cover, which is 100% true.
Oh yeah.
But I would say this: don't judge a book by its cover, but with a little bit of knowledge, skills, abilities, training, experience, you can look at a dude and listen to a dude and kind of tell whether he's fact or fact or
Listen,
fiction.
For me, it's like within the first 5 minutes of the conversation, bro. Honestly.
Yeah. If this dude's total bullshit or like, all right, he's got a little validity. I can hear it. He's got a little validity.
Right.
People see, Brian Emenecker, and people will come up to me after I do a class or whatever, and they're like, "Do you know Brian Emenecker?" And I'm like, "Maybe. I think I've heard of him." And I like talked to him the other day, or I texted him the other day, and they're like, "You sound exactly like him. Like your mannerisms and the way you say things, you sound just like him." And I mean, for me, that's a huge compliment. I mean, you're telling me I sound like a guy that I grew up idolizing and learned so much from. The guy's been to more fires than I could hope to go to in 10 careers, and I've learned so much from this guy, especially teaching with him. Because again, when you're working for a company like Safety and Survival, you're either going to be on the level or you're going to go fucking work somewhere else because we ain't got time.
Have you ever thought about helping others on the job with what you've been through and what you've experienced? Have you ever considered doing that type of work?
So I know I actually saw, and I want to bring this up. I actually saw you talk to another mentor of mine, Paul Drennan, Chief Drennan.
Oh yeah, great guy, man.
Yeah, he helped me study for this past captain's test, which I would say, and this is all I'm going to say about it, I would say was the difference for me in this test was what he taught me, what he gave me, what he showed me the way. That was the difference for me. And I can't pay him back in 1,000 lifetimes. Just a great man. I can't say enough about him. And he just recently retired.
Yeah, it was awesome. Good for him, man.
But
lost to the city, but definitely good for him.
Yeah, I know he's doing something. He's getting ready, or he does something with that in Jersey City, and he's asked me if I would, when called upon to help him, and I said, "You just shine up the signal from Jersey City, and I'll be up the turnpike." I know we had an incident probably a year and a half ago. We had to go to the neighboring county. We had to go to Westville for a motor vehicle accident with people trapped. And it wound up being a triple fatal with 3 kids.
Ugh. They suck, yeah.
And I have to say, in 20 plus years of doing this job and being involved in the fire service and some of the things that you see, I have to say that was one of the most gruesome scenes and accidents that I've ever seen. I felt so bad for the kids. It was very traumatic. It was, and my jujitsu gym was right down the street, so I used to drive past it all the time.
Yeah.
And they got the cross up there with the bunny rat. So I immediately flashed back to that night.
Yeah.
And the chief had sent us to, he was bringing in the Mercury team or whatever it is from around here. And I wasn't going to go. You know, he was like, I'm going to send you there. This is when they're coming. You can go to Westville Fire Department. This is when they're coming. And I was like, I ain't going. I don't need to go. You know, I'm gonna go to a meeting. I'm gonna talk to my sponsor. I'm gonna go to the gym. I'm gonna use the healthy addictions um, instead of the other things. And my wife's like, no, 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 you got to go. You got to go. She's like, because somebody else might see you there and be like, well, if he's here and he's sharing and, you know, he's doing this, well, maybe I can. And I literally, I went there and I did, and I don't regret going. You know, I told the, and there were some young dudes in the room. And I told them, I'm like, look, man, don't fucking do what I did. Don't bottle this shit up. You know, you got to talk about it. You got to get it out. And the counselors came up to me after the thing, and they're like, "Yo, man, you interested in coming to work for us?" They're like, "Your shit was like really good." And I'm like, "Thank you, but you know, no thanks." I mean, I'm not that at that point yet in my career, I think.
Right.
Now, if somebody called me or somebody texted me or somebody reached out to me and was like, "Yo, bro, can you talk to this dude?" or "Hey, man, can I talk to you for a minute?" Absolutely. But as far as like going and working for a company or working for a team or something like that,
because every time you're revisiting you're revisiting this old wound. I mean, even us talking today, I mean, it's, you know, in a sense, you're talking about your past.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I mean, yeah, you know, talking about Tommy, I mean, here we are all these years later, you know, and I still catch a little feeling. I still catch a little emotion.
Of course. Yeah, of course.
Same thing with my brother. The same thing what happened, you know, I still catch that emotion. And I usually pawn it off to like there's dust in the room and it makes my allergies and my eyes water a little bit. Yeah, I usually throw some funny shit in there like that. But I think the more that I've talked about it, the more that I've said the thing, the more that I've talked about the story, the more I've talked about the 4th of July fire, what happened to my brother. The more I talk about that, the almost it's like I have an overload of it in my system. And the more I talk about it, it's like the more the valve is open and the more that gets out. And like, we're almost to the point where we're almost empty of getting overly emotional about it. I mean, I couldn't even talk about this shit without breaking down. And then that's why I would go right to grabbing a drink. Cause I'm like, you know what? We're going to squash these feelings right here. But I mean, yeah, I mean, I lost everything, but I've gotten back everything and 10 times more. You know, I'm remarried to my wife, Barbara, who I love to death, who super hot. Super hot. Funny thing, I was working in Lourdes one day, and she comes in with a suspect, I guess you could. And we knew each other because we work together.
Yeah.
You know, she's a police officer, so we knew each other. And she came in one day, and I was like bullshitting with her and stuff like that. You know, hey, what's up? What's going on? How you doing? And you know, she's, you know, totally fraternizing with me. You know, because I'm a womanizer, as she says. And she leaves. And I said to my buddy, I'm like, dude, I've always wanted to date like a hot cop. I always wanted to do that. Woman. Man, here we are all the, years later, and now I'm married to her. I'm married to that same cop that I said that about, who came in the ER that day.
The universe works in serious ways, man.
Things happen for a reason.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer that karma is a motherfucker, and it is a circle. So that's why when like all those haters were hating, haters are like crickets, man. They'll talk all this shit when you're not around. They'll chirp their ass off, but as soon as you walk by them, they shut up. They're fucking crickets. That's why I call them crickets.
Yeah.
But no, my wife, she keeps me level. She tells me, you're being a fucking asshole. Don't do this. Don't say this. Do say this.
Stop controlling.
Yeah, she's very controlling. Typical cop. Yeah. I'm gonna lock you up. Go to hospital or go to jail, right? But no, she, it's and because of what she does for a living, we can have that conversation, and she can understand that stress and all that. And she does the same thing with me. You know what I mean? I understand the hours and
right.
The work hours are weird, and this and that and everything like that. So it gels together very well.
Yeah, it's a good partnership because you guys can definitely bounce things off each other, and you understand,
Yeah, and I mean, I say stupid shit on her body camera sometimes because I forget that she has body camera on, so I'll say stupid, inappropriate things, and then she'll be like, "Yeah, my body camera's on." But they had body cameras back in the day when we started. You know what I mean? We could say whatever we wanted. Nobody's recording it now. Everybody's got a cell phone and body camera.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and my kids, my stepkids, just everything is. I'm totally blessed. Sometimes I question whether I deserve it or not. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, it's been a crazy ride, and we're not done yet. We're not even close to done yet. I still love going to fires. I love this job. When I lost the job, when I lost everything, I lost my identity. I lost who I was. They didn't just take away the gear and all that shit. They took away my pride, my honor, everything. And I was fucking so ashamed of myself. So in coming back in this resurrection, I learned, and I had to learn that, stripping away those materialistic things can't strip away who you are and what you stand for.
Mm-hmm.
Just because they, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I'm 100% committed to this job, and I'm 100% all into this business. And I try to be just a sponge and just soak up as much information as I can about this business. I'd rather be good at everything than great at one thing in this business. And some people don't agree with that. They have other philosophies and stuff. But I'm just totally, like I said, I'm totally blessed to have what I have. And I know I can't take it for granted. I know that, like I said, I owe it, not just to me, but to other people, living or dead. I owe it to them. I own a shirt by Dynamis Alliance. It says on the back, to live a life that those that have come before us would be honored to live. And it's just, like Dakota Myers has that saying, own your dash. And he's guy got the Medal of Honor, and he doesn't even want the damn thing. He tried to give it back, and now he's on the job, and I think Texas or something like that. He's on the job now, and he has this whole website, Own Your Dash, and what he's talking about is the day you were born, the year you were born. On your tombstone, it has the date, and then there's a dash in the middle, and then the year you die. And what he's saying is you need to own and live up to that So, it's just like things like that, and just I know when I was going through those 5 years, man, like Jocko Willink was just coming around, and I wholeheartedly bought into all his shit. He's got that. You look it up on YouTube, just type in Jocko Willink good, and just watch that. It's like a 3-minute video, and it'll make you rethink some things. Because he talks about with every bad, there's good.
I'm gonna put that in my phone right now, so I don't forget it, because I don't want to forget it. And
it is. I mean, he just lays it out for 3 minutes, and he's got a very distinct voice. That my wife hates it. But it's like a 3-minute clip of good. And every time you lose, you don't either win or you learn. Right? I think Jalen Hurts just said that about the Super Bowl. You either win or you learn. There's no, it's not a loss. And, for me, with every bad, there's good in it, and totally, totally applicable to my story and everything that I've gone through with all that bad shit. I learned all this good shit about myself. So, maybe somebody sees this, and maybe somebody goes, you know what? I'm kind of going, because the funny thing is when you go to these meetings, it doesn't matter what you do for a living. It doesn't matter what you do outside the room, because everybody's story is the same. It's the craziest thing. From trash men to airline pilots to CEOs of companies to firemen to cops. You get us all in this room, and we start telling our story about how we wound up in said room. You're going, oh shit, I did the same thing, or I did that too. It's the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
But it doesn't fucking matter what you do for a living or what you do outside the room.
Right.
It's a fucking level playing field. We all went through the same thing. We all suffer the same way. Another proverb: I'm not addicted to suffering. I'm addicted to the product of suffering. So, some people are like, well, that's kind of morbid to say, like you like to suffer. And I'm like, no, that you're missing the point. The point is you're going to suffer, you're going to get knocked down, but you're going to hopefully learn something about that, why you wound up in that position. And, for me, like listening to Jocko and him always talking about jujitsu. So 2 years ago, I was like, hey, I'm 43 years old. Let's go try jujitsu. Here we are 2 years later. You want to talk about getting humbled? Have another grown man grab you, lay on top of you, and almost make you stop breathing in a matter of seconds. And guess what? There ain't shit you can do about it. I don't care how strong you are. I don't care how fast you are. I don't care how big you are. 145-pound kid, 140-pound kid. I'm 200 pounds. Choke me out in seconds. And I can't do anything.
Yeah, that is, it is humbling.
Yeah. You get another grown man to lay on top of you, and you can't, you come close. We're going to practice on what it feels like not be able to breathe. And that's what happens. And it works well for work because you get really comfortable with tight spaces, and you get really comfortable with breathing, controlling your breathing. Because you start breathing heavy in that stuff, and you're just going to gas out.
Oh yeah.
And that's the other thing too. You got to, you learn, and I'm still learning.
Right.
That you can't be McGill the gorilla. You can't just yoke people up and use your strength. because they're just going to lay there and they're just going to let you go. They're going to let you go. And in about 10 seconds, you're going to go from the dial of 10 back down to 1, and you got nothing in the tank. And then they're just going to wait for you to gas out. And then they're just going to submit you, or they're going to make you tap, or they're going to put you to sleep. And there's nothing you can do. So you want to talk about being humbled. I tell guys at work all the time, I'm like, yo, man, come to the gym with me and see what it's like. You know, nah, I can't do that. I'm too old for that. I'm like, I'm older than you are. There's a dude that rolls in my gym. I don't even know how. I mean, this guy's got to be in his 60s. They have a club called the Old Man Jiu-Jitsu Club. And this dude will roll you up. But yeah, it's it's nice to do that physical activity, especially for the job. It's a whole different level. Like I said, it's a whole different level of breathing. It teaches you how to breathe in a tight space when somebody's laying on top of you, when somebody's trying to choke you purposely. You pay a lot of money a month to have another grown man try to choke you. It sounds weird.
I know.
But a lot of people are doing it now, which is weird. But so yeah. Yeah, I mean, I got all these good things, man. I just, like I said, I'm totally blessed, and
Well,
I
well, the reason I thought it was so important to tell your stories, because that day, a lot of people don't know this. We filmed the second portion in your firehouse, and in that portion is when you and I first met, and you started to tell me your story. And I literally stopped in my tracks and said that this is way too big, way too important for a small couple minute segment about Chris Ryan. There's a lot more to this, and that's why I thought it was important. And when you were, and just so everyone understands, this is something that Chris wanted to do, and I discussed it with him to make sure he was comfortable with this, because it's a very, very personal story. And the fact that you're willing to share it, I think is going, I know is going to help others, because these types of powerful messages are real. This isn't like a made up thing. This is real life. This really happened to you. And I know it's going to help other people. And I think that what you're allowing other people to do is see the real you and see the struggles you went through to get to where you're at right now. And I commend you, bro. Honestly, I commend you, brother. You've been through hell and back, and a lot of people could have given up, and you didn't. And you like you said, man, you were in that grind. You just kept grinding until you get where you're at. And look at you now, man. I mean, you're a little inspiration for a lot of people, and I have a lot of respect for you, bro.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Like I said, I felt sorry for myself. I felt pity for myself. And I was just like, you know what? Fuck this, dude. Because if my brother's alive today, if Tommy's alive today, and I'm going through something like this, they're going to be like, are you fucking kidding me right now? Are you kidding? Like, you're not honoring us by feeling sorry for yourself, or letting your just life fall apart. Like, you're being a puss. Now, mind you, it's a story that it's not written all the way through yet. You know what I mean? We haven't closed the book here. We're still writing chapters. And there's going to be adversity, and there's going to be trials and tribulations, and there's going to be bad days, and there's going to be good days. I'm not saying every day I walk into work I'm like sunshines and rainbows. There's I have good days and bad days, but I know what it looks like when you give up. I know for me personally, after my brother died, my mom shut the fuck down to this day. just gave up on life. And now she's got all these medical problems. She's in rehab. She's in a rehab right now because she broke her arm. She's got fluid around her heart because she doesn't fucking do anything. This woman just basically just wasted away in her house, never left her house because it was, oh, well, my son died. And I mean, I'm like flat out with her, like, dude, do you think if your son was alive today and he sees what you're fucking doing right now, like he's going to be appreciative of that? He'd be losing his goddamn mind over what you're doing. And I again, and you know, we're slowly working through many of knife hand and just flat out no bullshit. Like, this is what you need to do,
Right.
or you're gonna die. Like, flat out, we're not fucking around anymore. And we're slowly, you know, trying to get her, you know, out of the. She's moving around a lot better now in the rehab and stuff like that. And but
Good, bro.
that is a prime example of what happens when you just say, "Fuck it, I'm giving up," because this horrible thing happened to me. Now, don't get me wrong, it is a horrible, tragic thing.
Yeah.
But again, my brother wasn't delivering mail. You know what I mean?
Right.
He's going to war. And in war, people die.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They don't have a saying in the military yet, I don't think, that everyone goes home. Like, that hasn't hit the military, has it? No. Because everyone doesn't go home.
Right.
And a lot of families around the country know that firsthand. You know, you get handed that folded flag. That's a little different than the people who are kneeling down for national anthems or burning the flag and shit like that. You haven't been handed that flag that's folded up. So you don't know. But again, this is America. You have the right to do that shit. I mean, that's your prerogative. Just don't do that shit near me.
Yeah, same with me, bro.
Yeah, so if you're struggling, man, look, I'm not the end all be all with this shit. Like I said, I have good days and bad days. It's not over yet for me. I could fuck this whole thing up tomorrow. All I'm here to, like I said, to share my story and share that experience, strength, and hope for that person out there that may be heading down the same road or is down the same road and has no fucking idea what to do because they're sitting in a chair and they're clinching the chair and they're rocking back and forth going, I don't know what to do next. Because I've been there. I've been in that chair. I've been clinching that chair. I don't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. But I'm here to tell you that, to share my experience, strength, and hope with you, because I'll tell you what's happened to me. I'll tell you how the faith and having hope got me to where I'm at right now. And taking somebody else's suggestion.
Letting someone else drive the bus.
Well, let somebody else drive the bus, man. You've been driving the bus for this long, and look where you wound up. Congratulations, asshole. Yeah, man. It's I mean, yeah, it's yeah, man. It's I don't know. It's like I said, the more I talk about what has happened, the more it's like the more air gets let out of the balloon, which is kind of what I'm going for. You know what I mean? Because it's a lot of air. It's a lot of air to carry around with you, man, and try to keep your feet on the ground. So, you know, like I said, the more I put it out there, the more air gets let out, the more grounded I try to stay humble, try to have empathy, all these things that I did not, like you said, what's the difference between you now and before? Try to have empathy for people and try to be humble. That's why I pay a lot of money every month to go get humbled. So if I'm not running that course like I'm supposed to at home, good thing I can drive 20 minutes up the road and somebody's going to do it for me.
Yeah.
And just giving back, what my experience, strength, and hope to that next person. Like I said, you go to these meetings enough and you get enough time. They tell you all the time it's not about you anymore. It's
Right.
about that other guy that's fucking sitting in that seat, that's losing his mind, that's rocking back and forth and has no idea what's next.
Well, I know that you're going to be an inspiration to others. I know that your story is going to reach someone else because it's just going to happen. And my hope is that someday that person reaches out to you to thank you because you got them out of a really bad spot in their life that they needed. And like I tell people all the time, that's not the form of the show. But what I've noticed with my show is that we've touched on things, and those things have impacted so many lives. And the proof's in the pudding because I've received phone calls and I've referred them to people that have bigger brains than I do, that can guide them in the right direction. And those people are doing really well today. So I know that your story is very similar to that, and that your experiences, perseverance, and your strength is going to be what someone else needs to hear right now. So I commend you again. Like I said, it's from the bottom of my heart, man. It's you're the real deal, bro. I mean, you've been through it all, and you're still here today. So, and to start over, like when you tell me that story, I think back of, man, starting over after being there for 12 years, being one of the senior guys, and having to put a Proby shield on. Man, I mean that not everyone can do that because some people's egos are just too big for that.
Mm-hmm.
Man. So the fact that you've done that speaks volumes of the person you are.
Thank you. Yeah. We have this discussion sometimes, and I have this discussion with a lot of guys I work with from bigger departments that I teach with. That whole senior man thing. It's an earned title.
Mm-hmm.
It's your time on the job does not equal senior man status. Senior man status is an earned thing.
We've said that many times in here.
And there's guys that walk around and go, well, I'm a senior man. Well, no, you're just a dude who happened to skate by long enough and collect the most paychecks to this point.
Right.
You're not a senior man. You're not. Because a senior man doesn't sit back and go, hey, Proby, hey, junior guy, you got to clean up the whole firehouse and do this and that while I'm going to sit over here and play on my phone. That's not the senior man. You're not leading.
Bro, I know chiefs of the department cleaning the toilet because they want to, not because they have to. Yeah. That he easily looked like a Proby. There's a toilet here that needs to be cleaned. Yeah. But no, the chief's there in the toilet cleaning it. I mean, that speaks volumes of the caliber person that person is. It's just the way it is, man.
I mean, granted, there's some things as a Proby that you need to learn and you need to be, things like that. But like I tell the junior men coming into the department now, I say, look, this is where these little things, this is where the devil's in the detail. This is where you learn discipline. This is where you learn how to be uniform with things and have consistency. And you have attention to detail.
Right.
This is where you learn that, because when you go out the door, you're going to need that.
Mm-hmm. Because no one's going to be holding your hand when you get out there. I mean, it's
no. And you know what? Guess what? One day, very soon, you're going to be saying this to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully I did my job in helping you along, not telling you what to do, helping. Again, it's all a suggestive program.
Right.
and showing you the way, the right way. Hopefully, you're going to be telling this to somebody. And when you start doing that, you start building that culture. And that's the big thing they talk about in this fire service now is the culture. The cultures, we got to change the culture. We got to change the culture. Yes, we do, but it is virtually impossible for you to change the entire culture of a firehouse for one guy or two guys.
No.
You can't do it.
Nope.
There was a dude on the weekly scrap who's a lieutenant from Houston. I forget his name. I apologize. He talked about the 33% rule. 33% of your guys in the department are go-getters, meat eaters, alpha, want to be great at this job. 33% of them. And then the 33% sit in the middle. They pull their weight, but they're not the first ones to do this, and they're not the first ones to jump on that. But, you can kind of depend on them. And then you have the other 33%. We're just going to call them the shitbirds. They just are there. They're, as Brian Emenecker would say, they're just blue welfare recipients. That's all they are. Blue welfare recipients. They're there to collect a paycheck and a pension. And that is all they're fucking good for. Now, I come along and I try to change the 33% of 33% of 30%. It's impossible.
Nope.
But if I can take one dude or two dudes from that middle 33% who are just, they're there, and I can change one of them and I can be positive in their career and hopefully start them down the right path, then they take another guy and they take another guy. And we do it individually instead of trying to change the whole thing at once.
Right.
And this lieutenant from Houston said this whole thing. And I was like, this dude is 100% right. Because we do need to change the culture of this Me Too culture or the me first culture.
Right.
I don't know
the entitlement.
Yeah, I'm first. Well, guess what, dude? When you take this job, you're not first. I can't stand when I hear people say, "Oh, well, scene safety, my safety first, then my partner safety, and then the patient safety." Or the no, asshole. No, it's the public's first. You're not first. Your safety is not first.
Right. And if that's what you want, there's other professions out there that you can do.
Yeah. Go deliver mail.
Right.
Not that I have anything against mailmen, but go work for UPS. Then you know what? Then they're first because that's what you're there to do. Drop off packages.
Right.
This me too, me first culture. Like, we need to get the hell away from that, dude. That's not what this job is about. That's not what this thing was founded on. And I think, you hear now and in talking, people will say, where did the fire service start to go to that culture? And when did we get skewed? And I say this, when we started to kind of change and turn a corner, and this is just my opinion, is when we started giving that last 33%, the shitbirds, when we started giving them a voice, and then we started listening to their voice. When we started listening to the guys who ain't really good at their job and are just there for a paycheck, we let them talk. And then we sat back and said, well, we'll take what they said. We'll jot down something. And no, we didn't used to do. We used to tell them to just shut up. Be good at your job first, then you can talk.
Mm-hmm. Earn your right. Earn your
right to talk.
Yeah, earn your seat at the table.
And I don't want to seem like an asshole or conceited or anything like that. But again, it comes back to, I apologize if my confidence and abilities offend your insecurities and inabilities.
Couldn't agree more.
So, let's get back to the culture of, like I said, risk acceptance instead of risk avoidance. And Chief Thompson said that, like I said, and I just think that is a great proverb.
Yeah, agreed.
Because guess what? Dude, I just did a PowerPoint the other day on lithium ion battery stuff. Holy sheep shit. This is just going to get worse and worse. The FDNY is going to these things like left and right. And from all the research that I just looked at on ULFSRI, it's like a crapshoot. And then with the EV cars, UL's basically saying, look, if the car's on fire and there's nothing around it, just let it burn. Because you ain't going to be able to put enough water on it to put it out. And on top of that, the battery compartment is under the car.
Right.
And it's designed to be waterproof. What are you spraying on it? Water. How's it going to get in there? It ain't. So, I mean, it's just all these things, like all these things, just trying to suck up as much information, be good at everything, not great at one thing. Learn everything. Every time I teach with the guys from Safety and Survival in the academy, I'm always picking something up. They're always making me better. I always feel like I'm like, oh man, that's a good saying, or that's a good proverb, or hey, that's a good technique. I'm going to try that. We're going to do that. I'm good at this job because of the people I work with are better than me, and they force me to be good at my job, or I'm just not going to compete with them. I can't. So, not that it's a competition, but in a way, it is a competition. The Bible says, "Iron sharpens iron, so does one man sharpen another." Right? And that's what I'm trying to do. That's what I want to do. That's what working for Safety and Survival does. That iron sharpens that iron. Every time we get together, no matter what we're teaching, swift water, high angle, trench, whatever, we're constantly just sharpening up. So, it's again, it's just all. I've never thought years later that I would be in this position now. I was saying that to my sponsor the other day. I said, I got to go on this podcast and, all this stuff. And he's like, ain't it crazy from where you were 11 years ago? You didn't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. You could barely talk on a cell phone because you didn't have enough minutes on your Boost Mobile card.
Well, and again, I mean, these are things that people need to hear because, when people think they're out, down and out, man, KO, knockout, it might not be the case, man. It might not be the case.
No. I mean, it will be the case if that is what you accept.
Mm-hmm.
If you accept that as, you know what, there's no hope for me. Or instead of saying, you know what, I accept the problem. I accept the fact that I have a problem. Now, what the fuck am I what am I willing to do about it? Just like in this job, when you go to a fire, you go to a technical rescue, or you go to whatever, what are you willing to do? What are you willing to do? And what can you do? Because if you're not willing to do a whole lot and you can't do a whole lot,
then you're just in the way.
Yeah. Go put up yellow caution tape.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, because now you're just another hazard. You're just another thing that I got to worry about. Now I got to worry about doing my job, and I got to worry about doing your job.
Is there one person in closing here, bro? Is there one person that comes to mind when you're thinking about like how far you've come? Is there one person that comes to mind?
The Lord Jesus Christ. I mean, no, I mean, I guess it's just so many people, between my brother and Tommy, what motivation are we using? Everything that, my wife, and it's
faith.
It's like, my faith, and, it's, Cody Tressler says it great: faith, family, fire.
Richard.
And my cat, Richard. he's great. My cat Richard. But no, I mean, there's so many things, so many people, so many positive things in my life. You know, so many positive people in my life that, like I said, Brian was like, he's like, dude, this is great. You need to be doing this. This needs to get out there. You know, there's so many guys that, you know, like I said, the guys at the firehouse, they were gonna, if this was like they were gonna type in crazy things, the like a live chat thing, and I was like, oh man, they're still gonna probably put some crazy stuff on there, but it is what it is. I mean, I don't expect anything less. You know what I mean? That's how you know you're doing something right. If guys in the firehouse are picking on you, talking about you, or breaking your balls,
100%,
and they like it. If they don't say a word to you,
then you know. Yeah.
Then you need a shift change.
Yeah.
Or you need to go work somewhere else. But yeah, man, I really appreciate this opportunity. I hope that I was able to give you the content. This is the first time I've ever done something like this. I hope that I was able to convey or give you, you know, the content that you were looking for. And I apologize if I missed anybody or I forgot to give shout outs to anybody. And I just hope that this story, this sharing of experience, strength, and hope, it helps someone. It reaches, if it just, you know, it's like we say all the time in the academy, if you just reach one student, you show them one thing, they walk away that one day and they're like, that's the thing that sticks into my brain.
Yeah. I'm certain it will.
Then you did your job.
Yeah, I'm certain it will. And again, this platform is never about content. This platform is about letting people hear stories, true stories, factual stories about like-minded individuals who have a passion for the fire service and who are doing good things and great things. And you're now alumni. You're part of that list of people who shared their story and are willing to help other people. Because if you weren't willing to help other people, you would never have shared this very personal story. And I certainly don't take that for granted. And I certainly wouldn't exploit anything that you told me. My hope is that you are going to help others, and I appreciate your time.
Oh, absolutely. Cat's out of the bag now. Batman took his mask off.
Well, you said it earlier. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. No, so I like that.
Toothpaste out of the tube. Can't put it back in the tube. It's out of the tube. No, you know what? I'm not fucking hiding from anybody. I don't have anybody. You know, my wife loves me either way. You know, my cat Richard loves me either way. So doesn't matter, right? It's a matter about sharing that experience, strength, and hope for the next person.
Absolutely.
That's struggling out there. And, you know, again, I thank you so much for this opportunity. And, yeah,